I am live and waiting to see if my audio is good, if anyone can hear me. If you're watching, can you hear me? Brittany? I want to make sure that my audio is good. I'm trying something different today, guys, because the last couple of streams, the audio was a little choppy. So I want to make sure that it's coming out right this time. So if you guys can hear me, that would be great if you could let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to just keep going. And if someone can't hear me, well, I guess I'll find out. So, hi, my name is Alexis. I'm going to be teaching you guys a blacklight painting today with Pop Shop America. So we're just getting started. I'm going to give it a couple more minutes, see if some more people can come in. If you're watching, if you can hear me, or if you can't hear me, that would be great if you could just leave a chat in the chat box. Let me know. I'm doing something a little different for this stream because the last couple of streams I did, the audio was messing up towards the end and like in the middle of it. So I'm using headphones this time. So I just want to make sure that everything sounds good and clear. And if you guys can hear me, great. If you can't hear me, let me know. Just leave a chat in the box. Whatever stream you're watching on, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, or StreamYard, just let me know. Or Twitch, let me know, and I'll do something different. I'll take the headphones out if I need to. But I think everyone can hear me, so I think I'm okay in that sense. All right, so I have a couple more people in here now. Again, for those of us just joining, my name is Alexis. I'm going to be teaching you guys how to do a blacklight painting on behalf of Pop Shop America. And this is for this month's painting kit box. So if you order the subscription box from the website, this is what we're going to be going over today. And if you haven't ordered it, you're considering ordering it, or you just have a painting at home that you want to follow along with, this is the kit that we're working with today. So super cute. Let me go ahead and go through the contents of what's in it tonight for you guys. So I have, when you open it up, it's going to come like this. It's going to have everything you need to do tonight's painting and then some. So we're just going to open up this cute little envelope that says Open Me. And it's going to give you a little card that has some details about what's included in the box. In the box, you're going to have a couple of black square canvases. You're going to have some gold gilding. You're going to have a variety of acrylic paints, disposable paint brushes. You're going to have a paint palette, and you're also going to have a Kandinsky inspired printable. You'll have a box cutter, fairy lights, and then you may need to grab some water and some paper towels if you're going to be painting along. So you guys can hear me, but we're still a little choppy on the audio. Okay. Yeah, I'm using headphones. Unfortunately, I'm not sure why the audio is still choppy. I don't know what the reason for that could be. I may need to move this a little closer. Okay. So I'm moving it closer to me. Let me know if you guys notice a difference in the audio in that case. It's a little closer. It might be the platform I'm streaming on. I was told that there's captions that you guys could follow along with. So worst case, we have that too. But hopefully, maybe moving it a little bit closer will help it out and help the mic out a bit. But again, yeah, I'm using headphones. I don't know why it's not helping. I actually have them in right now, so I don't know why it's not helping that out. And I have the audio and everything good, but let me continue going on with this, and then hopefully it'll clear out a little bit towards the end or towards the middle of it. Okay, so moving on with what we have inside the kit. Again, you guys are going to have a pack of the brushes. That's what you're going to be using to paint today. There's a variety of them in there to work with. You have your palette. You're going to have your canvases as well. 2 little mini 8x8 canvases. You will have your liquid gold leafing. This stuff is really cool. You're going to have 2 packs of fairy lights, which I'll show you how to work with those later. a box cutter for the fairy lights, and you'll have this printout. It's going to be a Kandinsky inspired printout for those who want to do the abstract styled canvases. We do have examples of this posted up on the blog for those who want to follow along with something specific. Tonight I'm going to be doing the flowers, so that's the one that we're going to be working with tonight. And then you're going to have your paints. So there's a variety of these in here. Different colors. They're packaged up so nicely too. When you open them up, you can see the colors that you have inside. They're labeled as well. How's audio for you guys? This is still a little choppy. I moved it closer, so maybe that's going to help a little bit, but let me know if it's still choppy. So Brittany has been kind enough to leave a lot of really helpful links in the chat for us. So if you guys are watching along, you should see those pop up. And those are going to be links to the virtual classes that we have coming up. So this class tonight is going to be free. It's free for everyone, available to stream on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And it doesn't cost anything to watch these. We have these every Thursday on the channels. However, we do have some other classes that you can pay to participate in, and those are going to be coming up very soon. We're going to have a watercolor one later on this month on the 18th of February. We're going to have a candle making one with wood wicks. That one's going to be March 3rd. And then we have a floral arrangement class that's going to be April 12th. So Brittany's included links of that in the chat box for everyone to take a look at. So that is going to be helpful for those who want to participate in classes further on that are a little more intimate and a little more private. You know, they're going to be paid to participate, so those are going to be a little more in-depth as well too. So for today's class, we're going to be doing the flower ones, and I'm going to show you guys how to do a painting that's going to look like it's glowing, like a black light sort of look. And then we're going to add fairy lights to it at the end, so it's going to have this really cool kind of ephemeral, you know, very like whimsical look to it. So we're going to get started. I tooled out all my supplies and everything. I have everything in the box as well. And real quick, guys, too, tonight there is going to be a promo code. So that's going to get you 15% off anything in the website that you want to order. That's going to be Craft with Alex. Again, Brittany put that in the chat box as well, too. So anything on popshopamerica.com that you want to take a look at, order maybe for yourself, a friend, a loved one, it's going to get you 15% off, and that's going to be active for the next 24 hours, okay? So take advantage of that while you can. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get started. So the one that I'm going to be using today, it's going to be a flower painting that I demonstrated. It's really cute. So something like this, just to kind of give you guys an example. So what I like to do whenever I do my paintings is I typically always sketch something out first. Some people like to just kind of get right into it. That's perfectly okay too. You don't have to sketch something out, but I like to just kind of prepare a little bit beforehand. So really quickly, I'm just going to sketch a general idea of what I want to do. And you don't have to copy the painting exactly as you see it on the website. However, if you do want to, of course, that's why we did it in the first place, so you have something to reference. But again, if you want to change it up, do something a little different, make it your own, add your own little spin to it, I highly encourage that, because that's some of the best parts about, you know, painting and creativity and all that, is like you can just really make it your own and kind of do your own thing with it, okay? So by all means, don't feel pressure to do something exactly as it is. And it's not going to be the exact as you see it on the site. It's going to be a little bit different. And that's just the beauty of painting, is like everyone's always turns out a little bit different. Okay, so I have sketched out just a really basic design. I don't know if you can see that. There you go, in the light you can see it. Something super quick just to kind of get the ball rolling with this. And let's see. I don't know if we're still choppy, but I think, Brittany, you're still there. If you're there, can you let me know if we're still choppy or not? Okay. Okay. So you do want to make sure that you have a water cup on hand and something to wipe your brush on. because we are going to be working with acrylic paint and it does get a bit messy, so just make sure that you have that on standby to make sure that you can keep your area clean. And I'm going to open up my package with a little utility knife here. Okay. All right. So you have a good selection of brushes. There's 10 brushes here to choose from. When you do order your kits, you'll see them all right here. You do have one plastic one. This is going to be the one that I recommend you use for your gilding whenever you are doing the gold leafing part, just because it's really disposable. You can use any of them, honestly, because they're all technically disposable, but this is going to be one that, you know, it's not going to be worth too much afterwards because the gilding is such a strong material. So whatever one that you're okay with tossing out at the end, I would suggest using, which in my case is going to be this one right here. So what I did is I sketched out what I want to do. Now I'm going to pick the colors that I want to work with. So the canvas on the website, I used fuchsia. So this pretty pink one right here. I also used red, and I used white and yellow. So let me grab the white one. And I'm just going to put these off to the side here as well. And let me grab the crimson one. Like that. Okay. So I have those off to the side. Now, there are a couple of techniques you can do when you are wanting to make a painting that looks as if it's glowing. One of the coolest little tricks that I learned is actually painting a white outline first, then going over it with the color that you want the neon look to be. That's going to give a really cool fluorescent sort of glow. So I'm going to take this fine point kind of striper brush right here. I'm going to dip it in my water. I have a water cup right here off to the side. So I'm going to dip it in my water to get it more of a finer point, and I'm going to just like tap the excess off. And then I think my headphones disconnected. Yeah, okay. Let me put these back on. Sorry, guys. I know y'all can still hear me. Let me just get these back on. Can you guys actually hear me better without the headphones? If someone who's watching can leave a comment in the chat, do I sound better with the headphones or without the headphones? Because as of right now, I'm going with the headphones, but if I sound better without them, then I'll leave them off. And you guys can leave a comment on whatever profile or platform you're watching on. Otherwise, I'm going to put them back in. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay. All right. Okay, I'm going to keep going because my headphones disconnected and no one's saying that they can't hear me. So if you guys can't hear me, let me know. I'll put them back in, but you should be able to hear me all right. Hopefully without any of the disconnections that we had earlier too. So as I mentioned before, I'm going to take actually, with this step right here, I'm just going to paint directly from the container because I'm not mixing any of the colors. We'll save the palette for whenever we start mixing colors. So I'm taking my thinner brush and I'm going to again dip that in the water, dip that in the paint to make it a little more flexible when I work with it. And I'm just going to outline my entire painting in that white shade. So I'm just taking whatever designs I drew earlier with the pencil and I'm outlining them with the white. So just like that. And again, if you guys can't hear me, we've been having some problems with the audio. Let me know, please let me know, leave a comment. That way I can get it corrected. My headphones, I did remove them, so if you can hear me better without them, let me know too. That way I can have that in reference later too. So for this part right here, the acrylic paint that comes in the kit, it's going to be a soft body texture. So it's going to be a little on the thicker side. I would suggest diluting it with a little bit of water if you want to get these kind of smooth, kind of fluid, thinner lines. And again, I took the brush about this shape right here, and that's the one that I'm using to do these kind of like thinner, more detailed lines. And for those who have just joined in, what we're doing is we're making one of the paintings that came with the subscription boxes, and that's the blacklight painting. We're doing the flowers one, and we do have a post on this on the blog at popshopamerica.com. And I sketched out my painting first, and I'm just outlining the entirety of it in white. That's going to be the first step that I'm using for this right here. So I'm outlining everything in white, and it doesn't have to be perfect. If your lines aren't straight, if they're not completely smooth, that's okay. This is just the first step to make it look like it's glowing, so it's going to get covered up anyways. Don't worry about making it perfect. It's not, going to be the star of the show pretty much. So I'm taking that and I'm just, again, outlining everything. Acrylic paint, it's going to dry really quickly. So I would suggest working in thinner amounts anyways, just because that's going to give you faster drying results. If you have a fan that you want to put on, that's something you can do too, just to kind of get some air circulating, but it's completely not necessary. As we go on through this, it's going to dry really quickly, and already some of those first lines I'm doing have already started to dry. So again, I'm taking the brush and outlining everything. So, okay, yeah. We're going to go through all of the painting. And if you want to improvise too and add some different lines, maybe adjust the drawing with the paint, take away something, that's something that I usually do anyways, regardless of what I'm working on. Because a lot of times when you do your first sketch and you actually start to add paint to it, you want to change some things about it. So definitely don't feel like you have to do exactly what you drew on the canvas. That's the beauty of art. That's the beauty of painting. Nothing has to be permanent. You can play around with things. Don't feel like you're, married to a concept that you put on the paper. So that's what I have so far. And I'm just outlining everything in that white paint. For this step, I am dipping directly from the jar because I'm not mixing anything. So I'm not going to run the risk of contaminating my white paint with other colors as I work with this. And yeah, this part is probably the easiest step. It's very loose, very free. So you just really pretty much are just outlining whatever it is that you drew earlier. And I added a few little free-handed lines right here just to, play around with it. And again, like I mentioned, if you're painting and then you feel like, oh, this would look really cool, this kind of flows with whatever I'm doing, go ahead and do that. Like I said, you don't have to do exactly what you drew. And if you like something on the blog post, but you want to change it up a bit too, you absolutely can do that as well. So we do have step-by-step photo tutorials of these paintings on the blog post at popshopamerica.com, and those are included in the chat box. So feel free to check those out at any time. We also have links to subscription kits. We have links to upcoming classes we have as well too. So just to kind of give you an idea of what we have going on, those are going to be all included in the chat box below. So already these first lines that I'm doing have started to dry. So this is what I have so far, and that's just the first step of what we're doing today. So the next part of what I want to do is I'm going to pick the colors of the flowers that I'm doing, and I'm going to stick to the painting that I did on the website. So I'm going to do pink, yellow, and red. So I'm going to grab a larger brush, and maybe one like about this size, and I'm going to scoop some of that pink into the palette that I have. And I'm scooping this into here because I am going to be mixing it with another color. So I don't want to contaminate the actual reservoir of paint itself. So I'm just going to scoop that into my palette so I can work with it afterwards. I wash my brush and then I'm going to scoop a little bit of white, just a small amount. And the ratio is about 1 to 2, 1 to 3 really. So you can see that. That's the small amount of white that I have, and that's the 3 scoops of pink that I did right there. And the reason why I am going to mix the pink and the white together for this pink flower is on account of that we're working on a darker canvas, and these acrylics that we're using are going to be on the more transparent side. So if you mix, or if you were to put this pink directly onto the canvas itself, it's going to be very sheer. You're going to need to do several coats. So if you want to get to, step 2 a lot faster, my recommendation would be to mix it with white, which is going to make it a little more opaque, and it's going to make it just a lot quicker whenever you are actually, when you want to build up that, intensity of the color. So I'm going to take these two, I'm going to mix them together. And of course, pink is a stronger color, so it's going to dominate that white that we have there. So we're just going to mix those together. And again, I'm going to take a little bit of this water, put that in there so that way it has a slightly thinner consistency. And we're going to start adding our first layer of paint onto the flower. So I'm working on this one up here, and I'm just going to paint over everything that I did already, except for the middle, of course. So all those white lines that I made, I'm painting over them. And I'll show you what we do with those at the end, but we're going to paint over all of that with that color that we just mixed, and you can, there we go, you can get a better view of that now. So all over here. And I do mix white with all of the colors that I use on these canvases. Again, for the reason that we're working on a dark canvas and these colors are more on the transparent side. So definitely adding a little bit of white to them is going to give them a more opaque finish. So that's just the first layer of this. And you can see that right there. When I am painting these, I do typically try to go in the same direction, just because I don't want to have too many brush strokes going opposite ways. It'll just be too confusing for the eye. And because this paint has a more transparent texture, it's going to look a little less seamless and a little less smooth whenever you are doing that. So I would recommend painting in the same direction and just go either up or down. I like to use these brushes that have this kind of dome shape because you can really get those turns and get along the edges of that all too. So I have my first layer of that pink down, and we are going to repeat that step but with the other two colors, so the red and then the yellow. So we're going to repeat that with the other ones. I'm going to take a scoop of white, and I'll go ahead and take a couple scoops, one for one portion and then one for the other one. I'm going to clean my brush off. And then I'm going to add some of that red on one of these guys. The red's actually pretty opaque on its own, so you might be able to skip the step of white with that one. Then I'm going to take some of the yellow. So yellow right here. The yellow is going to be very transparent, so mixing white with it will absolutely help with that. Okay, so we have those colors in there. We're going to go ahead and mix those together now. And again, I'm just taking a scoop of white, mixing it with the colors that I want the flowers to be, because if you use the colors on their own, which you can use them on their own, there's nothing saying that you can't do that. However, you will notice that they are very transparent, so it's going to be a little bit harder to work with them in that case. So definitely want to make sure that you can tint them with the white slightly to make them a little more opaque. And you can actually skip that step with the red because, like I remembered, the red is the one that's pretty opaque on its own, so we don't have to tint that one with the white. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to this flower right here, and I'm going to add the yellow to it. And I'm using the same brush, same exact brush as before. And again, I'm going to paint that over the white lines that I added earlier. And just cover the entirety of it, minus the center, which you're going to be doing a different color. And the reason why we did the white line on the beginning and why we're covering it up now is once we add more layers of this and we finish the actual painting, we're going to go back over those white lines and it's going to give your painting a look as if it's a neon light. So it's going to look like it's glowing. It's a really cool trick that you can use, and it just adds like a cool little spin on your regular paintings. So that's the first layer of these. Okay. And then we're going to move on to the red, which the red, again, doesn't need any of the white. You can add white if you want to change it to like a softer kind of pink color, but you don't have to necessarily. So I'm just painting the red, again, over that flower. And since this one's a little more intense, there you go. You can see the white peeking through on certain parts of it. And we're just going to cover that all in an even layer. And guys, this paint dries so quickly that by the time you finish painting in all of your flowers, it's going to be time to move back to the first one. So you can see that now, and then you can really see the white lines that we added in the first step kind of peeking through them at the end. So we have that going now. We do need some green for this painting, so I'm going to use the jade that's in the package. This one right here. It's such a pretty color. And again, I'm going to mix a little bit. Let me see how it looks on its own, actually. Okay, cool. So I'm going to do that first layer with just the jade on its own because it makes the white look really intense when you brush over it. So I'm going to color in a thin layer over all the leaves. And then you can see that white peeking through. It looks really pretty. Again, like that. So we're painting over all the leaves. And you can mix this with white too if you want the green to be a little bit brighter, which I'll probably do for the second coat, but this first coat I just wanted to get that green straight on there as is. And I'm going to add that to the smaller ones that I made as well too. So that way everything is kind of glowing and it looks really bright. Okay. Let's see. So we have all of the first layer added to this. We did our outline in white so that way it glows. Now we're going to move on to the next step of this very shortly, which is going to help add to that sort of glowing effect that we're going for. This is what it looks like so far. So you can see what we're working with here. Also too, guys, for those of us who are joining, we have links in the chats for upcoming classes that we have. We also have links to our coupon code for tonight's class, which is going to be Craft with Alex. And then we have the sign-ups for the paid classes as well too. So these classes on Thursdays are going to be free, but we do have paid options as well. The ones we have upcoming, we have February 9th. That's going to be our next class next week. That's going to be floral bath soaks. We're going to be making bath soaks with Epsom salts and scents and things of that sort, dried flowers. The 16th of February is going to be a DIY vision board. So we're going to be doing a vision board. That's going to be, for those of you who don't know, vision boards are kind of like manifestation boards and things that you can write your goals and your dreams and anything that inspires you. We're going to be making those February 16th. February 23rd is going to be a relax and color session. Those are really fun because we just get together, We draw, we color, we go over coloring techniques and tips and tricks. And then March 2nd, we're going to be making concrete bases. So I'm going to teach you guys how to do concrete pours and how to make little vases out of those. Then March 9th, we're going to be making felt flowers. So for all my crafters out there, those are the classes we have upcoming that are going to be free, as well as the ones that we have that are paid. And those are going to be watercolor basics on February 18th. That's going to be at 11 a.m. That is a paid class. We have candle making, and we're going to be using wood wicks. That's going to be March 3rd around 7 p.m. And then floor arrangements, that's going to be April 12th at 7 p.m. So those last three are going to be paid classes, but the rest that I mentioned earlier, those are going to be free classes that you can join on our Facebook page, on our YouTube page, or our Twitch page as well. And we have all of those events linked up there also. So this is where we're at for the painting. Everything is pretty much dried. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next steps of this. So I am going to keep the layers on this pretty transparent just because I still want to make it look like it's glowing. So I'm going to take one more layer of this pink and white combo that I mixed up, and I'm going to go ahead and add it again to this first large flower that I did. And guys, for the middle of these flowers, you can do any color you want. I usually stick with yellow or white, but you can mix it up if you want to, but I'm going to add yellow and white on these guys. So again, I'm adding one more layer on this. I want to keep the layers pretty thin because I do want a little bit of that black and that white to still peek through from it. That's going to really encapsulate that sort of black light glowy finish that you see, and it's going to really make it look cool towards the end of it. So I'm just going to add this one last layer to all of these flowers, and then I'm going to go in with the extra white line at the end. So I'm going to add the color to the middle of these as well too. Now with this kit, you do have the fairy lights that come with it, and then you have the gold gilding as well too. And I'm going to show you guys how to work with those also. So if you ordered the kit and then you're a little bit unsure about those parts, don't worry. I'm going to go over that as well too before the hour is up, so that way you have more of a familiarity with how to work with them whenever you use your kit if you're not using it right now. So I'm taking, again, these colors, and I'm adding my final layer to the painting that we're working on. And I'm going to take a little bit more of that green. And I am going to mix a little bit of this green with white just to give it more of like an intense kind of lighter finish. So I'm adding that. You want to make sure that you are cleaning your brush every time you dip it into the paint, because you don't want to contaminate your little paint reservoirs with another color, especially the white one. It gets contaminated so easily. So just make sure that you're cleaning your brush between every time you dip it in another color of paint. And I have actually, it's not on camera, but I have like a little paint rag right here along the side that I just swatch my brush on. And that, you know, I use like the old cotton rags. You can use an old t-shirt, you can use napkins, anything like that. I like to use cotton t-shirts that are old and just like cut them up and make paint rags because they absorb the water a lot better than paper towels do, and you just have to use them less, and less waste as well. So I added a little bit of that green with white to give the leaves more of a brighter finish. I'm going to color in the center of the red and the yellow flower, and then that's going to be all for the painting that all for the main painting, because we're going to add the final white outline on it as well. But we're going to let these layers dry, and then we'll go over it again with that white outline. Okay, so you can see that right here. So that's how it looks. This is how it looks before we add the white outline at the very end. You can see that original one that we added beneath it. See how it just really adds depth to it whenever you start with that original outline and then you add layers into it. So once we add the final one at the end, that's what's really going to make it look like it's glowing. So it's going to look so cool once we add that final step. while we wait for this to dry for a couple of minutes, I want to kind of go into this liquid leaf that we have here. So this is what's included into the kit. It's going to be Plaid brand liquid leaf. It's essentially liquid gold leafing. For those of us who have worked with traditional gold leafing, it comes in those little squares. You have to be very careful when you work with it, because if you sneeze the wrong way, it's going to go flying everywhere. So it's very, very messy. This, albeit still messy, is a lot less messy than the traditional gold leafing. This is gold leafing in liquid form. So it comes in a little container like this, and it's all concentrated at the bottom. So what you want to do before you use this is you want to open it and you want to shake it up pretty well. So you want to shake it, make sure that all of the contents have mixed properly. This stuff, when I tell you this stuff, guys, it's definitely going to leave a odor. So it's going to smell like an enamel. It's an enamel pretty much. So it's going to have an industrial sort of scent to it. So if you are in a room that doesn't have strong ventilation, or maybe you're a little sensitive to strong smells, I would definitely encourage you to turn on a fan, open a window, maybe even put a mask on, just to give yourself a little extra protection when you are working with it, because it can be very intense when you're first using it. So I would recommend that, just kind of like a little pre-warning, advisory for those of us who are coming along with the stream or who want to, work with it later on. Definitely make sure that you are prepared for this stuff. Other than that, it's great. I love it. It's such a cool material. So already my canvas is dry. See? Super quick. So now that it's dry, we're going to move back to that smaller little script brush that we started with. And just, you have a ton of brushes to work with. Any of these little small pointy brushes will be just fine for this step. So if you're at home looking at your kit and you're like, which small brush? I don't know. There's like 10 of them, right? So any of these will be fine. They're all really similar in size. They're just small differences. Any of them are fine for this step, any of them. Same with the other step too. I used this one technically is called I think it's like a filbert, because of the round, like the dome shape. But you could use the flat one if you wanted to. You could use this one too. It's going to be harder, but again, these brushes, they're really versatile, so don't feel too much pressure on deciding are you using the right size or not. Just you can kind of see along with what I'm doing here. So the last step to make this painting look like it's glowing is we're going to go back in with that white. And again, I'm going to be working straight out of the jar just because I'm not mixing it with anything. And I'm going to go in and just outline it one last time with this white color on its own. And this time it's going to add that final pop, which is really going to make your painting look like it's glowing. Especially because you'll see the original outline that we added kind of peeking out underneath it. So we're just going to add that final outline. And I try to use less water with this step. You want enough water on your brush to where your paint doesn't clump up, but not too much to where your paint is really watery and super transparent. Because this is the final step, we do want this white to look extra intense. And you don't have to go completely over the original white line that you added. It's okay if you go off the mark a little bit. In fact, I would probably encourage that some, just because when you get in, you can see that kind of double lining. And it really kind of adds to that glowy sort of effect whenever you pull the canvas away and look at everything in a whole. So we are going to just outline the entire painting with that white line. So I'm going to pull this away real quick so I can outline it faster. And you want to make sure that before you move on to any other step of this painting, such as the fairy lights and the gold gilding, that your painting is completely dry. And again, we're working with acrylic, so it dries really quickly, which is the beauty of it. So as you paint the entire, as you move on from flower to flower, you'll notice the first, paint strokes that you make are already drying up. So that's pretty cool about it. That's the one good thing. Well, it's a good and a bad thing about acrylic. It's good when you're trying to complete something in a timely manner and you want it to dry up quicker. But it's bad if you're trying to blend something and then your paint is drying quicker than you can blend. But in the case of this painting, we don't really have to worry about too many blending techniques. So it definitely works in our favor. Okay. So you can see how it's already kind of just jumping off the canvas now. So it's really cool. And you can use this technique with any kind of painting that you're doing that you do want to have that sort of black light look with it. And again, the steps, once you learn them, are super simple. Start with your white outline, add some transparent, semi-transparent layers of the color that you want to work with, and then finish up with that white outline. And it's going to give you that really glowy, just really kind of cool, black light neon sort of finish. Now the paints I'm using tonight, they're not by technicality neon paints. So again, using a technique like this makes them look like it. And if you need to do a couple of layers of the white to make it look more intense, by all means, go ahead and do that. Like I mentioned earlier, this is the part of the painting that you definitely want it to look the brightest with. So don't shy away when it comes to that part. And we do have a step-by-step tutorial of all of this on the blog as well too. That's popshopamerica.com. So if you need a slowed down kind of more, step-by-step version of what I'm doing here tonight, we have that available too for you guys to reference. So popshopamerica.com, we have that linked below in the chat boxes. So whether you guys are watching from Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, you could see those chats left in the boxes as well. And you can click on those for afterwards whenever you want to take a look at those blog posts. So I'm just going around and outlining all of these again. You can kind of see where I'm at right here. Has everything looking really bright, really cool. Okay. And guys, if the audio is choppy, I am so sorry. I tried to correct it with headphones earlier, and I was still receiving feedback that even with the headphones, the audio was choppy. So I just took them off. I do know that there are captions available too, so that way if you're having a really hard time hearing, those are going to be available so you can kind of read along with it. But again, we're working out the kinks with the audio, and it might be an issue with the streaming service, but hopefully you guys can hear me well. I know certain parts of it kind of, cut in and out. So again, if it is choppy on your end, I'm so sorry about that, guys. We're working on getting that fixed so that way you can have a more fluid stream and you can actually hear what I'm saying. So hopefully we'll get that worked out soon if it hasn't worked itself out already. So that's where I'm at right now on this. Look how much that's glowing. It's just crazy. It looks so cool against the black canvas. So definitely don't feel intimidated to work on different color canvases too, by the way. If you're a painter, a crafter, an artisan, and you're getting into painting, or you've been painting before, and you've never used a canvas other than a white one, I definitely recommend trying out different colors. And you can also use different color gessos and make your own custom canvases too, like as far as like the background colors go. So it really helps out. I never paint on white canvases whenever I do my own paintings at home. I always tint the canvas with a color first because I feel like it's less like harsh on the eyes whenever you're working with it. So definitely try it out if you find yourself maybe struggling a bit with your traditional white canvas. Try tinting it with just maybe a sepia color or a light beige color or a gray color even, or a black one too. You might find yourself really liking these black canvases because they're a lot less harsh on the eyes. So definitely try that out. Oh, cool. Audio's good now. Awesome. So we're almost done with the outlining part. We're gonna move on to the what do I want to do first? I want to do gilding first, or do I want to do, I'm going to do gilding first, yeah. We're going to move on to the gilding after this. So the gilding on the bottle, it's going to tell you that it takes, I think it's 24 hours, 48 hours to fully dry, I believe. Something along those lines. It's going to take some time to actually set in and cure, but to the touch, or kind of just like, it's not going to be completely runny when you first do it. So it's going to dry at least to the touch rather quickly when you first put it on there. So we're going to do that part first. However, if you are at home and you're working on your own time, at your own leisure, feel free to do the fairy lights first too. Although you may find it a little difficult to kind of maneuver and add the leafing afterwards. So I would probably suggest try the leafing and the gilding first. So that's how it looks now that we've added that final layer of that white to it. Look how intense that is. It's like so intense. And you can add more if you want to. I'm going to leave mine like this so that way we can move on to the next step. I'm going to close up all my paints because I am notoriously clumsy, and if I don't close these, then you guys are going to see me just like make a complete mess of myself on live, and we're not going to do that tonight. So not tonight. So I'm going to close these away, and Brittany did such a good job of just packaging these in these cute little containers. I absolutely love this. I'm a huge sucker for aesthetics and style, so when I see things like this, I completely nerd out about it. Okay, so we're moving these away. I'm going to move my palette to the side too, and let's see, what are we going to add for this leafing? So there's no rhyme or reason about where you can add the gilding at. Kind of just wherever you see fit. And I'm going to take this brush. Let's see. I'm going to take this brush, and then again I'm going to shake up my gilding. Remember guys, this stuff is a little intense to smell, so if you have any sensitivities, put on a mask. If you have a small room or small apartment, definitely make sure that you get some ventilation going. And okay, there we go. I'm not going to the gym for no reason now. There we go. I wasn't going to struggle opening this on live. Okay, so I have it opened. It's going to be very powerful smelling. It's an enamel. Speaking of which, because it's an enamel, you're not going to be able to clean this brush with like a water or soap afterwards, which is why I say use a brush that you don't care about throwing away. So in that case, we're going to use this one. And I'm going to add some of the leafing on the center of the flowers. I think that would be really pretty. And I'm just going to add like a thin amount and kind of just like swirl that in. Oh, that's so intense. It's so pretty. And I'm painting straight out of the bottle. I'd probably suggest putting a little bit of this in, well, if you're not clumsy like myself, putting it in one of the little reservoirs to work from on your palettes. However, I don't want to run the risk of spilling it, so I'm just going to paint straight from the jar because I'm not going to use a ton of it. But that's how it looks so far. Look at that. That's just going to shine really pretty. So it looks like a mirror pretty much. It's going to have that really metallic-y kind of mirror finish to it. And it looks like you're just painting with, you're painting with gold pretty much. So it's a really intense look. I'm going to add a little bit more, let's see, just maybe some little speckles here and there throughout the canvas just to get some texture. So I'm going to take my brush and let me turn this in a way where you guys can see it. There we go. You see that? And I'm just taking it and kind of adding like my brush on the tip like this and just stippling. And it gets this cool little sort of texture to it. And it looks really striking against that black canvas. So I'm going to do a little bit of that around the flowers. And also, too, if you want to get really creative with it, you can even take things like an old paper towel or an old t-shirt and add some and then kind of take it away, like dab it up. So something like this. And that's going to give you a more kind of blended effect. So you can really see that. It looks really pretty. Okay. So this is all of the leafing that I'm going to add to it. I don't want to get too carried away because I am going to add the fairy lights next. And we're almost out of time for today. See how fast time flies when you're painting? So great. Okay, so I've added the leafing. It looks really pretty. There you go, you can see that now. Okay, so in your kits, you do have these utility knives. And the utility knives, you can do one of two things. You can use the utility knives to make your little puncture holes. And when you are feeding the lights through the canvas, because we're going to take the fairy lights and we're going to make puncture holes throughout it, and we're going to feed it through the back of it. And that's going to give your canvas a glowy, sort of, twinkly look at the end. So you can use the utility lights to make your marks of where you want the lights to be. I found too that also using something like a safety pin, honestly, or a nail, if you have a nail lying around, works efficiently as well too. You may have to like wiggle it in there to make the holes a little bit bigger to feed the lights through, but it's a good way to kind of get it started. So I'm going to map out where I want it to be. And this too is like another part of the canvas where you can be as creative as you like. You don't have to follow any sort of pattern, any sort of, number. You can just kind of add them where you like to see them at. And I'm going to add a few of these for starters. I'm going to take my lights out. So your lights come in these little packages, and then, you got to pull your little paper out, and then like that. Like that. I'm going to leave them like this because I don't want to go crazy looking at the blinking lights. So we're going to unravel a portion of these. They're a pretty sturdy wire. So what we're going to end up doing is with the holes that we make in our canvas, we are going to end up feeding our fairy lights through the canvas. And I'll show you an example if my canvas cooperates with me. I'm going to show you. There we go. So you can see like that. And it's pretty bright in my studio right now, but once you turn the lights off, it looks so cool afterwards. Especially if you have these and you change the settings. So let's change the setting. Look at that. It's a little strobe light now. Okay, so what I usually do is I'm going to pinpoint where I want them to be at, and I end up taping the back of this down at the end so that way it stays in place. So you can see right there, we're going to be feeding them through the holes that we make, and they're going to be kind of flip-flopping all over the place. So what I found helpful was to take some tape. Probably some packing tape would be a little easier versus Scotch tape because it's going to have a little more support. You could maybe use some duct tape if you have that as well too. Just cut it in smaller strips because it's pretty big on its own, so you don't want to have too much going on back there. So I'm going to take that, and another tip that you can do for the lights in the middle, because you're going to have a little bit of a problem getting those through the holes, is we take those and you can pinch them. So pinch that wire together and twist it like that. So that way it sticks up straighter. And that's going to make it easier when you're feeding it through the back of the canvas like that. So that way it sticks through like that. Look how cool that is. That's really pretty. So I'm just going to, again, make some little holes randomly throughout it. I'm going to use a mix of the utility light and the utility knife and the thumbtack. And you can do too, even if you have like a drill, you can make a pilot hole and that would work too. That might be a little too big, but it's worth a try. And if you have a nail, you can do that too. Remember that when you are making the holes, you want to make sure that you keep it mostly in the center, because if you try to go through some of the canvas on the back, you're going to hit these stretcher bars and it's going to make it a little difficult for you whenever you are getting to that portion of it. So again, I just unrolled this I unroll the lights as I go because I don't want to overwhelm myself with the wire. I did that the first time that I tried this out and it was just a lot of wire all over the place. But again, I'm taking those middle lights and I am twisting them, pinching them and twisting them so that way they stick out kind of like this. And it's going to be easier for me whenever I am feeding them through the canvas. And I'm just going to pre-twist some of these. So I pinch like this, pinch them. And if I can do this with nails, you should have no problem doing them without them. So it's pretty simple to do. So I'm just twisting it like that. And I'm going to feed that through the canvas. One last time too, I want to let you guys know, be sure to take a look at that chat box. Brittany was kind enough to leave all of the links to the upcoming classes that we have. Every Thursday on our pages, we're going to have these free classes like tonight's class. Tonight was blacklight painting, which I showed you guys how to do that. Next week is going to be floral bath soaks. So for all my people out there who are into bath soaks, you know, and aromatherapy and making home products for self-care, that's going to be a great class for you. So we're going to be making that next week. And then on the Etsy's, so popshopamerica.com, Etsy is where you'll find the classes that you can pay to participate in. And in those classes, we are going to be doing watercolor basics. So for those of us who want to get into watercolor, I'm going to be teaching a seminar on watercolor basics. We also have one coming up on candle making, and I have one coming up on floral arrangements as well too. So a lot of cool classes coming up, a lot of opportunities for you to learn some new skills, get into a new craft, kind of, you know, find a new hobby for yourself maybe. So there's just a lot of cool opportunities coming up. And then, of course, we have the live sessions that we do here on the Facebook, the Twitch, and then the YouTubes. And then you can just check that out. That's every Thursday at 7 p.m. Those are going to be free, guys. So free lessons, free opportunities for you. Definitely take advantage of them. You know, the internet's a wonderful tool to learn so many cool things. And Pop Shop America is just the kind of place to go for crafting, DIY, and just, you know, art stuff. So definitely a good resource to have. I recommend checking them out and seeing what you like. Also, take advantage of that coupon code that's listed below, Craft with Alex. That's CraftWithAlex. That's going to get you 15% off of any purchase that you have on the Pop Shop America website. So look at that. That's really cool. I'm going to turn one of these lights off so you guys can kind of see it brighter. So we're going to turn, there we go. Look at that. See how bright that glows? That's so cool. And then you have, when the lights are on, you have the gold leafing that you added. So it's really cool. And then there's no amount that you can add. You know, there's a ton of these lights here, so you can add more if you wanted to. You can add less, but there's so many cool techniques you can do with this, so many tricks. But that is the Blacklight painting kit. That is the entirety of it from start to finish. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I had a really fun time painting this with you guys. We have step-by-step tutorials of this on the website as well too. So if you want to check that out on the blog, we have step-by-step tutorials for you guys to take a look at too. So definitely take a look at that in case you missed certain parts of it. You can rewatch this live on our YouTube page and the Facebook group as well. So if you missed anything, you want to reference it again, go ahead and go back to it. We're going to have that available for you guys. But I hope the audio wasn't too bad. We're working out the kinks of that. I know it was a little choppy in the beginning, but I'm hoping that it kind of, you know, cleared itself out towards the middle. But again, there's captions available too. And then we have the blog post, which is linked in the comments for a step-by-step tutorial of what we did tonight. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, for joining me. It was a pleasure painting with you guys. And I'm looking forward to seeing y'all next Thursday again, okay? So next Thursday, 7 p.m., join me. We are going to be doing floral bath soaks. So that's going to be a different vibe that we have. You can order that kit as well, too. So definitely join us there, all right? You guys have a great Thursday night. Have a good one. Bye.